Imagine getting a phone call from a lawyer telling you you're being sued for violating a patent you'd never even heard of. What's worse, it's going to cost you millions of dollars to defend yourself. That's what happened to today's guest, Austin Meyer, here on the Jordan Harbinger Show. Here's a short animated clip from the interview.
I was working at a trade show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where I was sitting there in a sweltering hot aircraft hangar showing X-Plane, my flight simulator, to a steady parade of sweaty pilots wandering through the hangar to look at my various wares. And all of a sudden the phone rings. And it's someone on the other end I'd never heard of before saying, "Hello, I notice you've been sued for patent infringement. I'd be happy to represent you for a price." I said, "I haven't been sued for patent infringement. I haven't infringed anybody's patent." And he said, "Oh, you have been sued for patent infringement, even if you don't know it yet. And if you'd like, I can represent you in this matter and possibly work towards a settlement." And I said, "No, I'm not going to settle with somebody I've never even heard of before for infringing on a supposed patent I've never heard of before." And he said, "Okay, just remember your defense cost is going to run around $3 million. Wow. So the way these trolls work is they will often start off suing the smaller businesses, and the smaller the better. And once they've gotten the settlements from these people that are too small to defend themselves, then they go after Apple. Then they go after Microsoft, saying, look, everybody else paid, so why won't you pay?"
Patent trolls are entities, law firms, companies that litigate patents. All they do is sue people. They're not in the business of computing. They're not in the business of apps. They're not in the business of manufacturing anything. Their business is patent litigation. They do nothing other than sue or threaten people. And I want to highlight that because that makes it even more despicable.
Yeah, so here's what the patent claims to own. The patent claims to own the idea of one computer checking another computer to see if a computer program is allowed to run. So if computer A communicates with computer B to decide whether a computer program can be allowed to run, that's what they claim to own. Now, the way the Google store works is you buy the app, the Google store tells your phone the app can run. Boom! One computer told another an app can run, so they claim to own that idea. This applies to all apps on the Google Play Store, all apps on the iOS, Apple Store, and all apps where you pay money to unlock the app. In Australia, the patent for the wheel was recently approved. Apple, as I just said, got a patent for the paper bag. That was just within the last year or so. There's a patent for swinging on a swing sideways. There's a patent for using a laser pointer to amuse your cat. There's a patent for how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And all of these are fairly recent patents. These aren't like from 100 years ago or anything. These are fairly recent ones. And so the patents never have any function in the industry except to spawn lawsuits. They only claim to own what people are doing. In this country, the United States, it is, as I understand it, illegal to make money by suing people. This is the system that our society is supposedly based on. You don't sue people for profit. You sue people to recover what you lost. Patent trolls make no money, and they have no business. And because they have no business and make no money selling goods or services, they cannot possibly have lost money by their victim running a business. Trolls sue for huge amounts of money, even though they never lost anything by having their patent infringed on. In other words, they are suing for profit, which is against the most fundamental rules of the nation. I collected a list of 100 or so of these lawsuits, 100 more or less of these lawsuits, and I found the addresses in East Texas, and I flew my little single-engine propeller airplane out there because there's really no airline service out to this deserted little kind of wasteland area of the country. So I had to fly my little small airplane out to the small airport and rented a car, and I drove around to all of these addresses of these so-called companies that are filing the lawsuits, and every single one was a rented post office box or an abandoned office. That's what I call a patent troll hive. It's a building where no people come or go. Myself and the film crew spent hours in these buildings over about 3 days, and we never saw another human soul inside the buildings. They're kind of like crypts or graveyards with no visitors. It reminds me of the clown from the Stephen King novel in the sewer trying to lure people in there.
Yeah, in East Texas, they all float down here, right? Yeah.
I guess so. All the research I did, I still couldn't find out who they were actually representing. So you literally cannot tell who is suing you. And about the farthest I could get was that the so-called company being injured in the patent, the plaintiff, had the same address as the condominium of one of the lawyers. Well, then I noticed as I was doing research, that some of the lawyers had the same last names as the judges. Turns out the lawyers are the sons of the judges. The statistics show that the judges would never grant the venue change. They'd never let the case leave their district. So you're stuck there where the lawyers are the sons of the judges. You can't tell who's suing you. The closest you can guess is the lawyers themselves. The idea of the patent system working is pre-dependent on the idea that the government can tell who is the first person to think of a thing. Can the human race say that whenever somebody thinks of something, we know that he's the first person ever to have thought of it? These patents are formed by people that may believe that they are the first person to think of something. But if each person believing that they're the first person to think of something means that they own that idea and can sue everyone else, well, the system can only work if we actually know who's the first creator of each idea.
It stifles innovation when this happens, though. Why write software if you're just going to get sued? Just keep your day job. Don't be ambitious. You might get punished. And being an entrepreneur is hard enough. Some of the people in your documentary, they have given up on writing software or innovating because it almost ruined their lives.
The patent we were sued on had, as I recall, 113 claims. And every claim was almost the same. In other words, one claim would say, a computer accessing another computer to unlock software. And then the next thing would be, software unlocked by one computer accessing another computer. And the next one would read, if one computer accesses another computer, software on the first computer can be unlocked. Notice just the same thing over and over 113 times, phrased a little bit differently each time. Because since it took us 4 years and $2 million to overturn one of those sentences, they had the same thing written down 112 more times. So they could put us through this for the rest of our lives.
Check out the full episode with Austin Meyer on The Jordan Harbinger Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now click here to subscribe to the channel, and click here for an interview, another animated short, from a guy who escaped from North Korea.